scoured the internet and found what you had to say. And now, I shall expose you. Hello, beautiful people. I'm the Luschmaster. Welcome to my channel. Oh yeah, of course. Subscribe. This is everything you had to say about Harold Cooper from The Blacklist. I love Harold and how he became a real friend to Red. He remained a good man even though he changed through his relationship with Red. Everyone on the task force changed too because of Red's moral relativism. All in all, I believe Harold was a good leader who tried his best and truly loved his agents. His wife Charlene didn't add much with her wishy-washy ways. She didn't like Red, though he helped them repeatedly. And she was upset with Harold when she lied for his alibi about the night Doug Custer was killed, yet she had an affair, which to me was far more egregious than merely lying. And we never saw her interact with Agnes, which to me was shameful as the poor kid was an orphan and definitely in need of love and compassion. I feel like he was well-rounded, honestly. I enjoyed his character. I absolutely loved his character. I used to hate him at the start when Agent Keen was introduced to him, but as the series went on, I saw myself falling in love with his character. He has the development that I love to see. He seems strict and cold, but over time, you really see his passion, love, and compassion that he has. Top-tier character. Harold came off as an uptight, work-driven, hard person in the beginning, but he changed a lot over the course of the show. He's loyal to his people and a great guy. You will love Harold Cooper in season 6. The man is a hero. Who else here thinks Harold Cooper is absolutely wholesome and doesn't deserve mostly whatever happens to him? I used to think the same about Aram, but till season 5, I understood that all of the other agents also face the same or even worse things that Aram has, and they deal with it maturely. Any thoughts? Harold, Dembe, and Red are my favorite characters of the show. Harold Cooper is implausibly obtuse. Harold is the embodiment of the viewers are morons trope. See below the break. Captain Obvious's raison d'etre is to spoon-feed the morons. It has always been. I'm sure I'm not the only one who said, "Thanks, Harold," 100 times. You have to wonder if the Blacklist writers are capable of writing anything smarter. Are they purposely aiming low, or is the low the best that they can do? Is it a bit of both? Were they writing low on orders from the network? Seems to me that they are not capable of writing smarter. Maybe in the early seasons, but not since they put the current staff in place starting in season 5. Think of what they needed to do to make Liz a mastermind. Dumb Red down. It's hard to write smart, and even harder when you're trying to make a simpleton smarter than the character you spent years coloring as on par with God himself. Yet they needed to have her be smarter than Red for the evil genius Liz plot to work. Solution: make Red dumber than Liz until the plot needs him to be smarter again, which was usually in the next scene. Captain Obvious is for the 20%, and the general approach to writing the series is LCD. But the writer's talents are probably kept at average, meaning they're capable of writing downward but not upward. The morons trope from TV tropes. A common belief among film and TV executives is that everyone who watches media has the intellect of Beavis and Butthead. This belief is a root cause for executive middling, especially common among shows intended for children. Kids can legitimately be said to be less knowledgeable than adults, though we all probably know a depressingly large number of exceptions. Of course, there is a moron demographic out there and it has its members, but executives seem to believe that every person who watches TV belongs in it. This may be due to something known as the 80-20 rule in business. In this case, that market research shows that 80% of money spent on television advertised products come from the lowest 20% in terms of education and intelligence. So show content is naturally geared towards them. He's become emotionally dominated by Liz, lost his objectivity and ignored his FBI oath. I hope Hannah Baker wakes him up. He is a big hypocrite. I was angry when Harold kept blaming Raymond for everything Liz chose to do. He was becoming such a wimp when she was concerned. Something is up with Cooper, always has been. Even the actor indicated that he feels his character knows more about Bridington and other things than we do. So if we believe that, then those of us who have been suspicious are right. Maybe Cooper is part of whatever Red is close to finding. According to the congressman, someone is high up in the government siphoning intel. Cooper is working overtime trying to pin all of this on Red as being a Russian traitor and selling secrets, etc. I could be wrong, but let's not forget Kuwait and the shady dealings that got him where he is now. Cooper doesn't bend the rulebook. He violates the Constitution and people's natural rights. There's been talk about an FBI mole high up in the government. Maybe it's him? Yes. There is more to him. I'm not buying the whole I'm a father figure nonsense. Maybe Cooper rather than wrestler will be Red's biggest problem. Cooper is ultimately working against Reddington, or the writing is the problem. One thing I've learned about Cooper is there's what he says towards Reddington, and then there's his actions towards Reddington. Let's just say his actions speak louder than his words. Is there a chance that Cooper knows everything? I think we can all agree that Harold Cooper is more involved than he lets on. How and for whom and for what purpose is less clear. But I think he is more than just the Holy Ghost and the Trinity of Red, Elizabeth, and himself. I believe his name is inspired by Harold Glasser, but that may be all there is. I've beaten this drum for years. If you want even more proof, pay attention to how he and Red interact at the post office or on the phone and when they've met in another location outside plain sight. In short, many of those conversations outside the office kill two birds with one stone. And yes, Cooper knows far more than he's letting on. Harold never questioned who turned himself in. It's him, he said. Harold never cross-checked his DNA against a bloody shirt predating when Raymond Reddington disappeared. Raymond sat on a bench waiting for Harold and asked specifically for Harold, who didn't seem overly shocked at his appearance. Raymond has something on Harold and gave the only known proof to him. At the end of the plot, Raymond sat at the head of the table, not Harold. Raymond calls Charlene by her first name and apparently knows Harold has a daughter with an unspecified medical condition. Harold went to great lengths to save Raymond from death, going as far as threatening POTUS. So I believe Harold and the so-called real Raymond Reddington have a history, and Harold doesn't view Raymond as an imposter. Is it my imagination, or is Harold Cooper a highly functioning alcoholic? Writers have been making sure that Harold reaches for the bottle more than anyone else, including Red. He's been locked away in a task force that barely hangs on as an organization that supports Red's enterprise. He doesn't have much to show other than the capture of the blacklisters. At the end of the series, the reveal, in my opinion, is Harold was on Red's payroll all along, similar to Dembe was in the past. I like the character. Cooper is pretending to be a fool. He knew from the start that the names of the blacklists are only enemies of Red. While Wrestler was screaming and whimpering, Cooper knows exactly what he was doing. In season 6 or 7, when Liz told him that Red was Ilya, Cooper knows it was a lie because he knew Reddington in the army. He knows that Reddington is the same person in the army, but he kept his mouth shut. Cooper is complex, sometimes morally questionable. In season 8, episode 3, Liz confronts him. But I told Red not to hurt Katarina. Are you kidding? Everyone knows that Red does what he wants. Like Cynthia said, he is the best of waiting and watch. he would let you get away with murder. Literally. He is ungrateful for all the saving graces of Reddington. I'm not a fan of him or Charlene. He made a better director than Aram though. I haven't seen anything that makes me believe Harold is a bad guy. I think Red chose him because Harold isn't just by the book like Wrestler, but is willing to work around the law at times. But I think he's a good person. An underlying struggle Cooper has had to deal with since day one is, at what cost do we accomplish good by making a deal with the devil? Red may be a criminal, but he's the criminal that Cooper and most of the task force know. He can be sick and twisted, but he does have a code. It's a lot like having a snitch or CI who is involved with a drug or prostitution ring. You let them deal or turn tricks so they can continue to provide intel that takes worse people off the street. But yeah, he should have sat Liz down years ago and made it clear that if she isn't 100% committed to the Bureau, she has to walk. Cooper's in a difficult position. He's getting a great deal of success and a massive boost to his career from Red. Red's not going to do squat without Liz. Liz wanders around shooting important unarmed people dead in front of witnesses, stealing files, all sorts of things that will get the normal agent tossed in the slammer. But Liz brings back Red, and Red brings the glory. What's going to happen to Cooper if and when all this comes out? All this bad stuff on his watch. He might end up doing time as well. If he's such a good guy, why stay quiet about 2 FBI agent murder files being stolen? I think he's a good mix. And he makes the right calls most of the time. When he doesn't, he owns it by owning it up or hiding it to protect the crew from scum like the tart, can't remember her name, who was on the First Lady's assassination and Laurel Hitchens, etc. He's definitely never been like the previous priest-like version of Donald Wrestler. Liz stole a file. Anyone else would have been fired or suspended. The suspect in that file may have been responsible for the deaths of 2 missing FBI agents who probably had families, and Cooper lets Liz off with a talking to because she has mommy issues. Everyone gets away with murder, sometimes literally. Good guys don't make good bosses. Cooper is not a good director. He's conflicted between his FBI oath and his misguided protectiveness of Liz. Cooper should just do his job. Cooper has never been great at holding his team accountable. He let Wrestler off even without looking at the letter. Good grief. That to me was the most egregious thing. All of them are bad agents, and overthinking this show is only going to make you dislike it more. Lately, they've done an amazing job completely ruining Aram's character. I like Harold a lot, but he has no control over his team and absolutely none over Liz. She walked all over him, but I like Harold as a person. Do we ever meet Harold and Charlene Cooper's children other than Agnes? I'm pretty sure I've watched every single episode and I can't remember seeing the whole Cooper family, but maybe I'm missing something. Buster wrote that Cooper has a disabled child. Why bother even telling us about Cooper's kids if they weren't going to bring them into the story at all? I wish we knew more. I wish we got to see more of Red and Harold's relationship and background. I love their moments together. His morality is really strange. He beat a confession out of someone, but then whines about having to lie for Liz. It seems like Red and Cooper did work together, which is one of the things Devery disclosed in order to try and convince the task force that he was Reddington. This was apparently in Kuwait. But there is also something in Cooper's past from Kuwait that Red knew about that seemed to give Red some sort of leverage against Cooper. The information related to that incident is what Red gave Cooper when he convinced him to come back to work. And then, of course, Cooper was a part of the rescue team that went to get Red after the Spetsnaz team captured and tortured Red in the Sea Duke case. So it would seem there's definitely some history there, which is bolstered by the fact that it was to Cooper that Red chose to surrender. I'm not sure if this means anything on the show because I'm convinced that the writers aren't that careful, but there are 4 FBI divisions that are involved in actual law enforcement activities, and these are cybercrime, criminal investigative, counterintelligence, and counterterrorism. In reality, it would seem that criminal investigative or counterintelligence would probably be the folks chasing someone like Reddington. In fact, when Reddington first turned himself into Cooper, Cooper didn't know Wrestler or the operation that had been running against Red, which says to me that Red went out of his way to pick Cooper, even across responsibility lanes. Again, to reiterate, I'm not sure the writers are that accurate, so this may mean nothing, but if it does, then that's another point to say there is some other reason for Red having chosen Cooper. So yes, I think there is some past connection between the two, and maybe someday we'll find out what it is. If you have gotten to this part of the video, comment the whiskey glass. I'll see you again next time. Tra-la-la!